Hey everybody, this is Richard, and today I'll be doing the Week 4 review for May 2021. Before I do that though, I'd like to just go over the disclaimer. So keep in mind that trading features involve substantial risk of loss, not appropriate for all investors. Also, I'm not a CTA, I'm not a commodity trading advisor. We let the algorithms be used under what's called a letter of direction, so keep that in mind as well. Go ahead and pause the screen though if you want to read this more carefully, and I'll go ahead and jump into the results for this fourth week of May. Alright, so the S&P actually closed higher for the week, as this chart on the right shows with the dotted line there. It actually was a pretty strong week for the S&P. Now, the 10-year actually rallied with the S&P, which is nice when that happens. It doesn't always work that way. In fact, they tend to trade opposite of one another. But in some cases, they do trade together, and when they do that, it's usually pretty good for us, because we did have gains on the 10-year as it rallied, and then we had some gains on the S&P trades as well. But we did have a nice day trade on the 24th of May, so that was on Monday. If you're on the wave or swing, then you didn't see that trade, and so if you are, then your results would have been a little bit lower than what we saw here. But we did have a great trade. We got in at the open and then got out a little bit later on in the day. But the other algo that I'd like to talk about is this momentum S&P algorithm. So this one, as you can see here, should be able to see, and I included actually the previous week as well on the chart. And if you watch that video, you'll see that we had these two stop outs, and that's what contributed to the losses that we saw last week. And then we got a no buy. So what a no buy is when we are not buying the S&P, we call that a no buy signal. So it means that we're not buying, and usually it's a relatively bearish signal, but a lot of times it won't get it right. And so this is an example of where that happens, where we get the no buy and so it didn't buy, and then the market rallied. Now when that happens though, it can take a few days for the algos to start triggering again to the long side. But once they do, then it tends to be pretty good. And in this case, we did have two winning trades on, I believe it was Wednesday and Thursday. So we got in and got out when it hit our target. So these were two nice trades that we had here. And then we had the day trade, and then the 10-year note trade was up. So all in all, it was a pretty good week for us. We ended up closing up about $1,269, or about 6.35%. By the way, if you saw my last week's video, I think I mentioned that we were down 6.35. We were actually down about 6.6, so that was a typo. But for the most part, if you add the last 2 weeks together, they were pretty much close to break even, down just slightly, but very close to break even. So this week was nice because we did get some gains, and it's always encouraging to see that. But I also want to just acknowledge that when the algorithm shuts off and then turns on again like it did here, that can always be a tricky period to navigate. And I do want to show you the TradeStation chart just to talk about that a little bit more. So let me pull up TradeStation. Okay, so what I'm showing here is just the chart of the S&P algo, the one that we've been talking about for the last few months. Notice that just to give you your bearings, so back here is February, here's March, here's April, here's May, and then June, which actually was just starting. So what I want to highlight though is if I zoom in a bit now, you'll see the other chart that I was kind of showing you, where this was last week, where we had these two stop outs. And then this week we had the two small winning trades. And what I'm trying to demonstrate here is to show you that when we get the no buy signal like we got, where we don't buy, and it actually occurred on the 19th, and then also on the 20th, and then the 21st was a Friday, so we don't buy on Fridays anyway. And then we would have bought on a Monday, but we had a no buy, and then Tuesday no buy. So it wasn't until Wednesday that we got our first buy signal, and that's this right here. And it can be a little frustrating when we see a couple days of gains and we're not involved in that. Although keep in mind, the breakout algorithm did have gains and the 10-year was up. So it's not that we didn't have any gains at all. It's just that this algo didn't. but it's pretty normal for this algorithm. In fact, if we look a little bit closer to a few other times where this no buy occurred, you'll kind of see what I mean. So I'm just kind of going back in time, and here I think this is probably going to be a good example. So right here is March of this year, and we had a similar thing where the market sold off, and we had a couple losing trades, a small winner here, but then we had our no buy, and so it didn't buy for a period of about a week. Well, eventually it did shut or turn back on, and in this case it had a couple winners, a couple losers, but then after that is when we started our run that lasted through April, where we had, I think, about 15 winning trades in a row. And so even though it feels like a lot of times we're late, when these up moves happen, they tend to last for a while, and so in the grand scheme of things, we usually aren't that late when you really zoom out and look at the big picture. But it's the in-between that's, of course, painful to watch. And I'm talking today as if we had a losing week. We didn't. We were actually up about 6.3% for this fourth week of May. But yeah, I'm just trying to highlight that there are definitely periods where it doesn't maybe feel like we're up, because we know, well, we could have been up more if we would have bought a little bit sooner, and that is true. But the key to these algorithms is that they do take a very long-term approach, and so it's true that there will be times where we miss out on trades, but there will also be times where the market just sells off, kind of like it did here during the height of the pandemic, and we got another no buy signal in here, and then the market sold off, and we weren't in any of those trades, so we didn't take losses throughout that period. And here again, the market rallied, and it took a while for it to turn back on again, but eventually it did, and then we had a really nice run after that. So yeah, I mainly wanted to highlight that, since I talk about something different on a lot of these videos. Here's another case where we got a no buy, and then it took about a week before we started getting buy signals again. That's just the nature of these algorithms. It's the nature of momentum algorithms usually. They tend to do this kind of thing because they are momentum following algos. But back to this week though, just to kind of close it out. Yeah, here's the last Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, and Monday. So it was off, turned back on, and we did have a few good trades. And so back to this slide, again, just to summarize, gave it a B. The reason why I didn't give it an A is primarily because we usually will see more gains than just the two winning trades on an up week like we saw. The reason why we didn't, though, is because we had a no buy coming into the week, and so it took a few days for it to trigger again. But the good was the day trade. Day trade algorithm had another winning trade, as you see right here. And then the 10-year actually did really good, considering the S&P was up. A lot of times we'll expect the 10-year to be down. In this case, the 10-year was up, though, as well. So it was actually a really good week for us. And that's the main thing I wanted to talk about. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me at sales@AlgorithmicTrading.net. I'd be happy to walk you through any questions you have. Thanks so much for being a customer, though. Thank you for watching the video. And I really do look forward to June. Look forward to seeing what June has to bring. And I am doing this video a little bit late, so we actually have already started June as of right now. But I wanted to close out this video and highlight this last week of May for consistency. But yeah, so I think that's all I had. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.